All right. Okay, so what I was mentioning was that there is a direct relationship which is given in the four foundation, which is given in the discourse for mindfulness of breathing, for these factors for awakening. And when with the unremitting mindfulness, the practitioner will be able to allow whatever happens happen, and as a result, you dwell into your physical and mental processes, and therefore you will be able to examine and analyze and come to comprehension of what is happening in your existence, in your physical process and mental process. And because of this investigation of state, since you allow whatever happens to happen, we have been discussing this in detail, so I'm not going to elaborate much on that, how it happens in the practice. You need a special type of mentality. You require a special or different attitude to face these things, because you have been all this time having your attention to the outside world. Now the attention is introvert, and as a result, things that you observe, things that you experience may not be the same thing, and in fact are not the same thing. So this is why you have this special type of investigation which we call Dhammavichaya. And for you to observe that, for you to examine that, for you to let that happen, for you to analyze that, for you to come to comprehension of that, you require that special quality in the mind which we call energy, and energy as a factor for awakening. And that energy is called the tireless energy. The word the Blessed One using is Viryang Asallina. Viryang Asallina means the energy that does not that is not wavering, that is so firm. Whatever happens, maybe your head is going to blow up, you just observe. Maybe you don't care, you simply keep observing. Maybe your knee is going to really blast out now, just keep observing. And that sort of mentality, that sort of attitude, that sort of change in the mind is called tireless energy. And the word tireless is not sufficient enough to give its real meaning. And Viryang Asallina means you are so firm in observing what is happening. And the example we took was, it is like the elephant, the tusker, breaking the parapet wall and going into the fort in a war. During Sinhala King's time, they were using these huge tuskers when they go for war. And then the tuskers will not come back. They will just break the parapet wall and go inside. And like that, even when you are going to explode, you just keep observing. And that is Viryang Asallina. And when on that occasion the energy as the enlightenment factor is aroused, and with this enlightenment factor, we have come to the factor that we are discussing. One who has aroused energy, worldly rapture arises. So the moment you are able to energize yourself to see whatever is happening and observe whatever is happening, and you do that simply because you have some calmness, you have some happiness that you are gaining or that you are receiving, which you have not experienced anywhere in your sense sphere, anywhere in your sensual world. So therefore, this energy of observing whatever is happening in physical and mental process is giving you a rapture, is giving you reward is giving you dividend of your investment of mindfulness, of your investment of investment in investigation, and of your investment of energy. The dividend, the first dividend that you get is this rapture. So therefore, the breathing discourse says, one who has aroused energy, worldly rapture rises. And that rapture is called rapture as an enlightenment factor. So in this manner, you see, these are complementary and linear, and they are progressive. So it's like milk turns to sour cream, and it turns to yogurt, and then it turns to kefir, butter, ghee, etc., etc. So it's the same milk that keeps changing, and it completely takes a different phase and completely serves a different purpose. So it starts with that unremitting mindfulness, unwavering mindfulness. So this is why in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, Blessed One very clearly says, keep the mindfulness to the fore, which the entire Buddhist world has forgotten, including the practitioners. Even the practitioners with the object and not about the mindfulness. Right? So we get engrossed with the object. And it's not a fault of anybody, and that is how the human mind works. So we have not been practicing mindfulness in our existence. We have been doing all other things, and if we have been any spiritual, we have been practicing more object-based practices rather than mindfulness-based practices. So therefore, trying to hold on to or trying to gain the object is nothing strange, nothing to be surprised about. It is usual and it is acceptable. So this is why we have these talks and discussion are required. So coming back to the topic, if I give a summary of the rapture that we have discussed in the last few sessions, the rapture that is aroused in this manner, the unworldly rapture, it is unworldly since this arises above and beyond your sense indulgence and desire. It is not connected with your eye. It is not connected with your ear, etc. It is, one might say, it may be connected to the body, but even in the body, you are not going to give the usual comfort that you are used to give. Here, what you are simply doing is you are coming out of it and give some sort of a comfort to the body. Yes, so far as to that extent, it affects the body, but not any other sense. And therefore, for the same reason, they are not extrovert. They are not depending on the external objects. They don't depend on the forms that you see, or the sounds that you hear, or the taste that your tongue will take. So it doesn't depend on any of the external objects. And no thoughts of lust, hatred, sloth, and torpor, agitation, worry, and skeptical doubts as well. So when this happens, when you have gone through this process of coming to the rapture, so in rapture, there is no lust arising, because you have gone beyond the rapture that may be given by lust, right? And you have gone beyond the hatred. So if you have hatred, there cannot have rapture. There is no sleepiness at all. And you are not agitated. You are not worrying about anything as well. So there is no doubt about your practice now, because this is the time your investment is paying off. So when that is happening, when you are paid dividend, you don't say, no, I don't want that. I want to keep on investing. There are people who do that. And in this case, knowing the dividend itself is the investment. Right? So therefore, it is unworldly because of these things. And also, Another important thing is the object that you have selected to gain the grip of your practice is also changing, and that is refining as well. With the refinement of the object, your mind also equally getting refined. So at least the things I mentioned, coming out of the sensual world and coming out of the unwholesome states, are the basics of having what you call unworldly rapture. So for this unworldly rapture, in the last session, we discussed there is some nutriment that is necessary, some food that is necessary. And for that, the Pali term, just one word, it says yoniso manasikara bahuli karo. And that is just one word. But in English, it is the translation that is the best translation I was able to find was, or even I amended it a bit, frequently giving careful attention to the beginning of the evolving phenomena. Right? So the phenomena is evolving and you give your attention to its beginning. So if I take this Pali term, yoniso manasikara bahulikaro, what it means is yoni means the beginning or the arising or the birth, knowledge is the meaning of yoni. So the beginning keeps changing all the time when the practice advances. So gross becomes subtle, and subtle becomes subtler, and then subtlest. And more one practices, deeper it gets. So body awareness, you keep on your awareness on the body. And since your attention goes to the body, since it goes to the subtlest level, it is no longer body awareness. It turns into the awareness of the feeling. So your beginning, no longer the body. Initially, when you started, it was the body and you were observing body. But when your practice advances, you get used to that subtle state, the new state. So your beginning changes. So yoni changes. So therefore, the beginning for practitioner will not stay the same all the time. But that doesn't matter. When you practice, you start like a beginner and you try to bring your attention to your usual object. And your practice will tell you where it will end up. So don't therefore try to force anything. You just take whatever that comes up when you bring your attention to your desired object when you practice. So the awareness of the body therefore changes to feeling, and that becomes your yoni or the beginning, and then it may change to mind, then or thoughts. So that becomes your beginning, and then when you keep on doing that, everything becomes a phenomena, and that becomes your beginning. So therefore, it's a simple example to show that the beginning changes, and if you allow that, the path is very easy. And the other thing is keeping attention to that. Keeping attention to that, initially one may cultivate this attention because you don't have it. We don't have it because we haven't practiced in our life, or even if we practice, we take only very few hours for the practice. So therefore, we are most of the time in the sensual world. So therefore, initially when you start, you will have to develop or cultivate the attention. To cultivate the attention, we are using techniques such as labeling and counting, etc. So once it is cultivated, or when it is cultivating, when it is progressing, you just drop that technique and use pure attention. You just give your awareness to whatever is happening, and that is manasikara. So you drive that awareness as much as possible to the beginning. That is yoniso manasikara. And I know in books there are billions of things that I have said about yoniso manasikara. But in practice, to see what is in the books, you should not do anything. You simply let whatever happens happen, and then keep observing. Let the beginning of anything change. Right? Again, I will have to say sorry since I got to go to today's topic. I have discussed this in detail. Please listen to our previous talks. And the other word in Yoniso Manasikara Bahulikaro is the Bahulikara. Bahulikara means very frequently. You will have to do it, if possible, all the time. And this is something that most of the yogis are weak. You don't want to Bahulikara. You don't do it. You don't want to do the same thing over and over again, over and over again. I have passed grade 1. Give me question from grade 2 or grade 3. I can't do the same thing. That is our mentality. That is how we have been brought up. So therefore, you will say, no, I did that yesterday. And what is next? If you take most of the questions, they're asking, what do I do next? And where do I go from here? Buddha doesn't say that. Buddha says, Bahulikaro, do the same thing millions and billions of times. And that is the next step. So long as you are asking for a next step, you don't allow the beginning to evolve, beginning to come up, beginning to spring naturally. Right? But if you just keep on doing the same thing, you will, Bahulikara means by doing that, you become patient enough to see the area that you have not seen in your physical process, the sphere that you have not seen in your mental process. So this is why Bahulikara is important, because our mind is always trying to do something intentionally. Doing something intentionally means nothing but you don't go to the beginning. So if you want to go to beginning, do the same thing over and again, over and again, over and over again. Then the beginning will evolve. So that's the summary of what we have discussed so far as factors for enlightenment are concerned. And we are continuing Rapture today as well. And the today's topic is identifying different types of raptures. And there are 5 types of rapture that you find in literature. And they are in Pali called Kuddika Priti, Kanika Priti, Okkantika Priti, Ubbega Priti, and Parana Priti. And in English, you call them weak rapture, or minor rapture, or a short rapture, or a momentary rapture, going down rapture, exalting rapture, and fulfilling rapture. So we will take each one of these things separately and try to understand what they are. So the weak rapture, or you call it minor rapture, is the first manifestation of rapture. And I'm 100% sure all of you are sitting there and listening virtually have experienced this. But when you experience this, there is no signpost to say that you are experiencing minor rapture, right? So in minor rapture, what happens when you can observe this only when the mind is in your body, when the mind has come out of the external world and the mind is starting come to the body, then you will experience this. Mind in the body starts bringing up when the mind is in the body, there is some indication, there is some signal that the mind is in the body. And that signal is coming on the outer layer of the skin. In your outer layer of the skin, when it appears on the outer layer of the skin, it is bit of a novelty to the beginner. The one who has not practiced for a long time, it becomes a novelty. So therefore, they don't really take it as rapture. They may react to that. So how do you understand, or how do you know what happens when the mind is in the body? Initially, you may start feeling ants crawling on your skin, maybe on the face, maybe on the nose, right? You may feel ants crawling, and sometimes worms moving, right? You may have seen worms moving, little tiny worms moving, and you may feel like worms moving on your skin. So that is how you feel the outer layer of skin, right? And also sometimes you may feel like small insects moving on your skin or in your skin, right? Or most of the time I've seen in Satipasala, they start, they have some itchiness. All the kids, after a few minutes, they start scratching their nose. And not only for kids, I have seen even a lot of adults, right? As soon as they finish the practice session, first thing they do is they wipe the face, because that basic rapture has been happening. And as soon as you finish, you want to ensure that nothing is missing, no worms there, no insects are there, no flies are there. You just scratch or you just wipe your face. So those things, those phenomena that appears on your skin is an indication that your mind is in the body, and that is how this minor rapture or the weak rapture arises initially, right? And this may start spreading. When you keep on practicing, it keeps spreading. Initially, it may start with on one of the cheeks, and then it will be on both, and then it will be on the whole face. And if you are persistent enough, if you are patient enough, if you just give your life away and let whatever happens, you just keep observing, then it develops, and it manifests as piloerection or goosebumps, right? It may spread in your whole body, and there will have a point you will have, I call it usually mild smile vena, which means this goosebumps. All the body hair will erect, right? So that is when it is really developed. So what happens is, when this happens, yogi has been observing it, but when this happens, gets excited and opens eyes, or scratch or wipe the face, or go and take a wash, thinking that, I have not taken a wash for some days because it is winter. I should go and take a very hot wash, so all these worms and flies in my body will die, right? Or in rare cases, some people stop the practice if they are so much, if they love their body so much, they don't want anything like this to happen in their body. So they may even stop the practice, or unknowingly they want to practice, but they will somehow or other try to find some excuse not to practice, right? So those reactions will be there. And also, some may think, oh, something funny is happening, and therefore I should change the technique. I should go to metta meditation, or I should do only this or only that. Or they may even doubt the teacher. They think this may not be the right technique, so I should go to some other teacher. Or they think, some of the practitioners will think there is something wrong within them, right? So I have seen all these people in the few years I have been teaching, and there are some reactions, and that is natural as well. And it is very easy to help them if they talk, if they discuss. So if you don't discuss, then we will have to say Allahu Akbar only, because Buddha won't be able to help. his disciples won't be able to help. Nobody will be able to help unless you discuss, because now you are coming into the real benefit side of the practice. So therefore, the discussion is very important. So the first advice when those things happen is discuss. And that is why the Blessed One has kept that as a discussion factor, as a supportive factor for the practice. And when the discussion happens, most of the teachers, what they would say is, don't react to it, just keep observing. That's all you can do. And that's all you should do as well. Let worms or anything be there on your skin. Don't scratch, don't change your posture, just stay as still as possible. So it is difficult for some people if you practice with a hidden agenda. So some people, even they don't tell straight away, they may be practicing to get superhuman powers, maybe to levitate, or maybe to read others' minds, or to improve their, memory, or become more and more efficient, or for some problem they have. If there's some hidden agenda, of course your practice is moving, but you, because that agenda will be more important than the experience that you get. So therefore, it may get diverted, it may get directed to somewhere else. So therefore, don't have any hidden agenda. Just practice for the sake of practice. Just observe for the sake of observation. Simply no reaction. So continue what you're observing, even if the phenomena is overwhelming. Sometimes it may be overwhelming, it may be unbearable initially when you really observe it. Doesn't matter. When you discuss, we'll be able to say that it is happening. And just keep observing the phenomena. And if it is overwhelming, then observe the phenomena. If it is not overwhelming, you can observe whatever that you have been observing so far. Maybe you have been observing the subtle breath, and this phenomena is happening, right? So let the phenomena happen. You keep observing the subtle breath if it is not overwhelming. But if it is overwhelming, then you have no choice. You have reached there, so you just observe the phenomena. Don't get up. Don't change the posture. Don't shake your body. Don't scratch your face. Just keep observing. So when you stay motionless, this is one side of the Vedananupassana. That is how, when your mind is taken to the body, you observe Vedana, or you observe feeling. So it's giving you an opportunity to observe the good side of feeling. And when you say Vedana, Vedana is having two sides, pleasant and unpleasant. So when unpleasant feeling is there, everyone is shouting, everyone is crying, everyone is reporting. When the pleasant is there, you don't. Doesn't matter. Keep observing. This is the pleasant sensation that you have. And that's an invitation for you to observe that. So it is the start of the next training, or the next test, because you are coming from the body to the unworldly pleasant sensation. You know, when you observe sensations, the Blessed One says there are worldly and unworldly. Worldly, you have pleasant, unpleasant, and also the other one, neutral. And in unworldly also, you have pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. So here we are talking about pleasant, unworldly sensation. So it's the next test. It's the next training that you will have to go through. So this is the rapture, is the start of that training. So people will be panicked because there are no signposts. So the signpost now you have is either the discussion or the talk. So when this is happening, now you know this is what is happening. So you will be strong enough mentally to keep observing it, even sometimes after the practice. Don't respond to that even after the practice. Sometimes when you don't respond, there have been instances, I have heard instances, where there have been actual insects. And insects have really harmed you. And after the practice, you see, the leg is bleeding. Doesn't matter. That has improved your perseverance. That has improved your patience. But in most of the cases, it is not so. It will be the rapture that you are reacting to. So this paves the way for better mind-body communication or understanding. So when the mind comes to the body, when you observe, you are allowing the mind and body to be in harmony. All this time we have not been doing that. Now you have an opportunity to do it. So when this improves, it arises. The next one arises. The next one is Khanika Priti, or the short rapture, or you also call it momentary rapture. Right? So in momentary rapture, that arises because of mastering the minor rapture. And since you are not afraid of these goosebumps that are taking place on your body, and you don't doubt it, and you don't go and see a doctor, which I have done when it happened to me because there was no one to ask, and able to continue the practice irrespective of what one feels on the skin. And as a result of that, you will go to this short and momentary rapture. And I'm sure most of you have experienced this as well. How you initially feel that is, it's not just like now scratching or hand scrolling or anything like that. It starts showing you some sparks, some electrical sparks you can see, or some minor electric shocks you may observe, or you may feel some minor thunder, right? Or notice, and also notice gradual amplification of the phenomena when you keep on observing. And since you have gone through the short rapture or the minor rapture, when it comes here, you are fairly prepared, you are slightly prepared to face this situation. So when it comes to the climax, what happens is you may start observing very prominent thunder in your head, or electric shocks in your head or in the body, right? And that is how you identify, that is how you know this momentary rapture, right? So there is some sort of electric shock or sparks or thundering happening in your body. So even here, weak minds, the yogis with weak minds may take this very seriously. They may be scared because now things what is happening is a bit serious. And again, they may open eyes, or some of the people, they may shake their head and see whether anything is wrong in the head. And some will go and check the blood and sugar levels, etc. Because this may be because my blood pressure is going up, or sugar level is coming down, or sugar level is going up, or whatever. They will find one or the other reason, and to buy so many gadgets to check their health indicator. So, or again, they may change the technique or doubt the teacher or the self, and there is a big possibility to go and see a doctor as well. So when some of these things happened to me, and after checking with the doctors, and when the doctor said there was nothing, so I decided it has to be something with the practice. And when there was no one to check, so I had to go all the way to Pomona, and since I was practicing with Goenka those days, and they weren't able to tell anything. The only thing they simply said was, it is like that. When the Blessed One has given this discussion forum or discussion supportive factor for the teachers to explain clearly what is happening. because the yogi practitioner has come to that stage. So he should be confident enough of what's going on. He should be confident enough about the techniques and the physical mental process and their involvement and interaction. So if that is not happening, it's very serious. So that's the only, or not the only, one of the main advantage I have seen in Bhante Dhammajiva is I was having quite a few experiences when I met Bhante Dhammajiva. He straightened everything, his explanations to the point, and then I immediately realized he's a person who has walked on the path and he's talking from experience. So therefore, again, what I want to emphasize is, as an advice, continue what you are doing and keep discussing. So therefore, it's the same advice as I mentioned in the minor rapture as well. No reaction. Don't have hidden agendas. Just keep observing. Continue what you are observing. If the phenomena is not overwhelming, but if it is overwhelming, observe the phenomena. Right. So in this, there will have an instance or rather a period of time where these sparks are so prominent and it's so frequent, and sometimes you may get shocked as to what is going on. So it doesn't matter. You just keep observing. No change in the posture. Stay as motionless as possible. So this Vedananupassana that I mentioned earlier is now amplifying. So you will have to keep on observing that as well. So this is a sign that you are ready to face the unknown. Right now, you are going from known quietly to the unknown area. So this is a sign that you are able to do it. So you just keep the mindfulness to the fore. Now you are understanding how the mind talks to the body. This is how mind and the body is talking. You know, a communication in our physical process is happening through electromagnetic fields. So this is where your mind is now sharp enough, mind is subtle enough, mind is clear enough to go into your body and see these electromagnetic fields at work. Don't poke your fingers into that. Let those things happen. Through those only, your defilements are getting clear. So when you see those, you have never seen those things. So therefore, they have been working the way they were used to work. Now, when you observe, you see those things means you don't provide any more food that you were used to provide. As a result, you are able to see the sparks. And more the sparks you see, deeper it goes. And the sparks that you are able to see when it goes deeper becomes much more prominent, much more, I would say, if I may, attractive and challenging, right? So this has been happening ever since we were born, but until your mind is sharp and in the body, you won't be. It is happening every second, every fraction of a second, right? But you can't see that because you are covering that with all rubbish, all mud, right? So when you don't react, the mud is going out, rubbish is going out. You are able to quietly go into the talk between the body and the mind. So, but not seen since our mind was extravagant. So, continuation of this second stage, which is the momentary rapture. You go to the third stage, we call it going down rapture or showering rapture. So I'm not quite sure why they are calling it going down, but a better term for that is showering rapture. And the Pali term is Okkantika Priti. This Okkantika Priti arises due to successful mindfulness of the short rapture and the minor rapture. And also you are now less fearful and you don't doubt things much. So as a result, showering rapture may appear. And how you will know is when the showering rapture happens initially, starts feeling the whole body, and may slightly notice um, live flesh in your body, right? So your attention is now is going deeper into the body, and you may have some way of feeling the whole body, right? And some people may observe flesh in the body is dancing. They are really active. They are really live. You can see, right? And sometimes when you are not practicing as well, you can see all the muscles are working very rapidly. So that is because your attention is in the body now. And that is initially. And when it comes to the climax, you may feel like taking a shower. You feel very cool sensation in the body and feels gentle waves moving in the body, right? And since you are observing, since you are not reacting, this flesh dancing and the movements of flesh becomes subtle. And when it becomes subtle, you may feel that as a wave that is going in your body. And especially if you observe that with your breathing mindfulness, and it happens to a rhythm, right? And I know a person who has said when this is happening, he feels like bats flying in the evening far in the sky. That is how he feels his body. But bats are flying in his body life. So and also you may observe when this happens, some tiny explosions are taking place in the head, right? So those sparks may turn into explosions in the head. So this is bit beyond one may expect from the practice. So again, they will have reactions. But in this case, since you have now gone through the minor and the momentary rapture, the rapture is also refined here. So therefore, you will not have any negative reactions to this. But any reaction is negative anyway. But the danger in this situation is when you feel the whole body, and when you are so calm, and when you feel the body is like a wave, you may start liking that calmness. So it may be a bit complicated. You don't see that as a reaction. You may see that as a very good outcome. One may crave for that, either intentionally or otherwise. Some may change the teacher if the teacher doesn't talk high about it. When a practitioner is saying, okay, I'm having this particular state, usually teachers don't boast about it, because if they boast about it, what happens is the practitioners will get hooked onto it. So therefore, they don't take much notice. They just brush it off. And if that happens, some of the practitioners will think that this person has not come to this stage. So it is better for me to find a better one, an advanced one. And then when you go to the new teacher will give, okay, you do this only and talk only about this. So you will be simply start digging another well when you have come so close to getting water, right? Or finding that gem, right? So therefore, you will have to be very careful in changing the teacher when you have some sort of a practice or some sort of an experience. So the advice, therefore, is to continue to be aware very closely. And this is unworldly pleasant sensation. Even the previous two were, but here it's very prominent. So it's unworldly pleasant sensation. Buddha advises to observe it as it is. No reaction, no change, no amendment. That takes away the ignorance of it. right? So when you have pleasant sensation, very prominent, it's very likely that you will get hooked onto it. You get hooked onto it because of the ignorance there. So Buddha is asking you to keep observing simply because you can take away the ignorance that you have on the pleasant sensation, about the pleasant sensation. So thereby, when you take the ignorance away, the craving also will not have any chance of standing. So you just keep the mindfulness to the fore, that will take care of the rest. This is why the Blessed One at the very outset said, mindfulness to the fore. And the continuation in that manner will go to the next stage of rapture, which is exalting or uplifting rapture, which we call Ubbega Priti, or in Sinhala we call it Udvega Priti, right? So when this happens, the entire feeling of the body becomes what you call, it comes to its climax. Comes to its climax, and you feel that the whole body is in upward movement, right? And when that arises due to mainly improving tireless energy, right? And it's a result of developing wholesome skills now. And at this level, rapture is fairly matured, right? So initially, you will feel sitting above the seat or the cushion. You may be doing your sitting practice. You may feel that you are not sitting on the cushion. You may be feeling that you are sitting above the cushion. Or when you may be walking, but you may feel that you are not walking on the earth or walking on the mat. You may be feeling that you are walking bit above, or you are walking with some rubber cushion in your sole of the feet, right? So you feel something above where you have the contact to. And initially also you may feel the body is trying to take off, right? It's just trying to have upward movement, right? So that is initially. And when it develops, naturally, for some people I have seen, and their hands move upward, and some people's legs also move upward, and seen some people just dance on the floor, and unintentionally some people, when this happens, when the body, when they feel that body is having upward movement, and they are so elated about it, and they go on to the perfect worship posture, and unintentionally they take both the hands to the middle of the forehead, and they keep worshiping the Blessed One for 5-10 minutes, because it's so calming, so soothing. And that happens when this rapture, exalting rapture or the uplifting rapture comes to the climax. And some people may feel that they are levitating as well. It's not actual levitation, but you may feel that you are in the air, right? So some may even say that it is happening, right? So it's not actually happening, but you may feel like that. So the yogi's reaction here again are deceptive, because it's too attractive, right? And they may crave for it definitely when it comes, intentionally or otherwise. And therefore, there is a greater risk of changing the teacher or changing the technique unless you flatter about that achievement, right? So the advice is, again, the simple advice: continue to be very vigilant and accept the situation and just keep observing. Assure that the practice is developing in the danger zone because of its magnetic attraction. So in this level, at this level, when the teacher is talking to the practitioner, have got to be very careful, because you will have to praise him and as well ensure that he is not getting too attracted to it. So there are some people getting too attracted. So you will have to use different type of techniques to take them away from that attraction. So the most important thing is asking them to label that situation. Then they bring some intention to it. When they bring an intention to it, that attraction gets challenged. Or for some people, when they are there, they just ask them to observe. But when you observe, what happens is, since there is no much activity, yeah, there is an opportunity, there is a chance, or I would say there is a danger to get more and more attracted, and that situation may overwhelm you. So this is a very subtle unworldly present sensation. So therefore have got to be very careful. But so long as you practice and discuss, it is not in the hand of the practitioner, it is in the hand of the noble friend. So you don't have to do anything to come out of it. Only thing you will have to do is produce the report. When you produce the report, teacher will be able to understand the lines between the lines and will be able to help. And that will sharpen your practice when these things are happening. And if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, then your mindfulness will become sharp at both the ends, whether it's pleasant feelings or unpleasant feeling. Now you are able to cut. You have a better sword now to go through the unwholesome states in our existence. So the continuation of that brings you to the next one, which is fulfilling or pervading rapture. So this is the highest rapture that you will have. Here, one may feel that one is in a tank or a balloon or a bucket full of water. So this, at this rapture level, it is always associated with water. You are in some water, right? So you may feel that in a bucket of water or balloon of water or a tank of water, and some may say in a cave filled with water. Some have said even they have felt like they are in a well. So one may feel that some form in water. So when this happens, one's object has evolved. So you don't have either the walking or you don't have either the breath now. It has completely taken a different phase, and no labeling. It's just simple observation. And the mindfulness is so steady, so sharp. Energy level is fairly balanced. You don't jump up and down too much. It's very equipoised, right? And mind is very calm and happy. So even here, this is also a danger zone. You may get caught up with craving. So therefore, you will have to be a beginner. You will have to be very innocent. Just observe whatever is happening. You have a better capability when the practice is developed to this state, because you have gone through these things and you have maintained mindfulness through these things. So therefore, it is easy to maintain the mindfulness at this stage, and especially because it's a different type of an experience. And that's very important. So this mind matter phenomena that arises as rapture is not reality. That's very important. You feel that as something, especially after the third, fourth layers, right? They are not real. In the first and second, they are real. After that, what happens is the rapture is a representation of the calming mind. When the mind becomes calmer and calmer, mind is not having a way to enjoy it. So therefore, what mind does is, it creates some mental projection. And that mental projection is projected through the body, through physicality. So therefore, Preeti arises therefore on the body. It's a physical manifestation of the resting or the happy mind, right? So therefore, you are not in water. you are not levitating. You are not what do you call having I don't remember the other one, something which you have not experienced, but it's simply a physical manifestation of the happy mind, of the calm mind. So therefore, why it is happening through the physical process or through the body is because we are observing the body. By observing the body, we have made the mind calm. Right? So therefore, you start experiencing this through the body. All right. So hope this has given you some indication of what the types of happinesses are. And may you all be able to go through this unworldly rapture and observe its impermanence, and blessings of the noble triple gem to everybody. Theruvan Saranai. And with that, I would like to conclude my talk. I'm sorry if I have taken longer time. Now it's the time for discussion.
Bante, Archie has to go. Can we get her first?
Yeah. Theruvan Saranai. මට කියන්නකො මොකක්ද කිව්වේ කියලා?
සමහරවිට මම කියේ ආනාපාන සති භාවනා කරනකොට හිත විසිරෙන එක නවත්තන්න.
ඔව් හරි මට දැන් මතක් වුණා. එතකොට මම ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා අහනවා සක්මන් භාවනාව කරනවද කියලා.
කරනවා. කියන්නේ මේ දවස්වල කරේ නෑ.
ඔව්.
ටිකටම කරා.
ඔව් දිගටම පර්යංකේ කරන් ඉස්සෙල්ලා සක්මන් භාවනාව කරලා ඉන්න. එකක් අනිත් එක සක්මන් භාවනාව විනාඩි 10යි පර්යංකය විනාඩි පැය භාගයයි කරන්න එපා. මේ දෙකම එක සමානව කරන්න. පර්යංකේ පැය භාගයක් කරනවා නම් සක්මනත් පැය භාගයක්ම කරන්න. ඒක හරි වැදගත්. දැන් අහපු ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තරේ හැටියට ගත්තොත් අපි හැමතිස්සෙම අපි භාවනා කරනවා කියලා කියනවා. ඒ භාවනා කිරීමෙන් වඩන්නේ මොකද්ද කියලා අපිට අදහසක් නැහැ. අපි භාවනා කරද්දී හුඟ දෙනෙක් හිතන් ඉන්නේ අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ මේ අරමුණක හිත පවත්වන එක කියලා. ඒ හින්දා තමයි ඔය ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇති වෙන්නේ. හරි. අපි භාවනා කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ වඩනවා. වඩන්නේ මොකද්ද? අරමුණ නෙමෙයි, වඩන්නේ සතිය. right? සතිය කියලා කියන්නේ වෙන දේ දන්නවා කිය. හරි. අරමුණක් දෙන්නේ වෙන දේ දන්නවාද කියන එක දැනගන්න. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් ආස්වාස ප්‍රස්වාස වෙද්දී ආස්වාස ප්‍රස්වාස වෙනවා කියලා දැනගන්න. ආස්වාස ප්‍රස්වාස දිගට දැනෙද්දී අපිට ඒක දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. කෙටියට දැනෙනවා ඒක දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. කොයි වෙලාවක හරි ආස්වාස ප්‍රස්වාස තුම් වෙලා යනවා නම් ඒක දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ හිතපු ගමන් ඔය අරමුණේ හිත තියාගන්න බෑ කියන කතාව එනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අරමුණෙන් පිට හිත යනවා. අපිට ඒක දැනගන්න පුළුවන් නේ. එතකොට දැනගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒ දැනගන්නවා නම් ඒක ඒ දැන ගැනීම තමයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. එතකොට
හිත පිට ගිය බව දැනගන්න.
හිත පිට ගිය බව දැනගන්න. ඒ දැනගෙන අපි හිතමු හිතවිලි වලට ගියා කියලා. එතකොට හිතවිලි හිතට ඕන එකක් හිතන්න අරින්න අරගෙන ඒකට සතිමත් වෙන්න. ආයෙ ඇදලා ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න එපා.
බලෙන් ගන්නත් නෑ.
ඔව් බලෙන් ගන්න එපා. මොකද අපි දැන් කරන්නේ මේ බලෙන් ගන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ අපි පිට යන හිතට ද්වේෂ කරනවා ආනාපානීයට රාගයක් තියෙනවා කාමයක් තියෙනවා ඒ හින්දා ඒකයි නැති කරන්න ඕන ඉතින් මේක පෙන්වන්න තමයි බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ ඔය වගේ උදාසීන අරමුණක් ගන්න ඒ උදාසීන අරමුණට හිත දාපුවාම ඒක අපිට සතියට පවත්වන්න බැරි වෙලා හියුම් වේගන යද්දී අපිට පේනවා හිත පිට යන එක එතකොට අපි පවත්වන්නේ සතිය නම් අපි කමන්නේ හිත පිට ගිය එකත් මම දන්නවනේ කියලා ඒකට අපි නිරීක්ෂණය පවත්වනවා ඊට පස්සේ ඒක සද්දයකට ගියොත් සද්දේ කමන්නේ ඒක නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා හරි ඊට පස්සේ ආයි කකුලේ වේදනාවකට ආවොත් ඒක නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා එහෙම යන්නේ මොකට ගියත් කමන්නේ ඒ යන්නේක නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා නම් ඒක දන්නවා නම් එතකොට අපිට අරමුණක හිත පවත්වනවා කියන තියෙන දරතේ ඉන්නේ නැහැ කියන කරදරේ නැහැ මම කියන එක පැහැදිලිද දන්නේ
උසාවනස දහිත පිට යනවා කියන එක දන්න එකම අපි මේ සතිය තියෙනවා කියන එක නේද?
ඔව්. ඒ හින්දා අපි සන්තෝෂ වෙන්න ඕනේ සතිය තියෙන එකට අරමුණ නැති වෙන එකට නෙමෙයි. ඒ හින්දා ඒක අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ මේ මානසික ආකල්පයේ වෙනසක් විතරයි නැත්නම් භාවනාව හොඳට යනවා. තව මොන හරි තියෙනවද ප්‍රශ්න?
නෑ සෝනස තේරුණා.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි. Right. So we can take any other questions if we have.
When we are talking about the rapture.
Yeah.
Come closer. All the in a standard terms, all the troubles start to happen to me. Like when I start feeling this crazy like feelings, like all of a sudden, like I start feeling that I tighten my tooth too much. Like my dentist told me like a couple of years back, I never feel it. Like I was biting every time, and I start feeling that, and then I had feelings of subtle shocks as well, and then bit of a now I have noise as well. It's funny. It's just a small noise. Maybe those things there, or I switch on to it, and 1 or 2 times anti-gravity, which is towards the end. The biggest thing is sometimes I don't like to listen things because it's expectation. The expectation, that's rapture. I mean that's it. That's the end of it, because you have expectation to it happen. But suddenly, without any invitation, randomly, it happens. Feeling within the water, didn't experience yet. It's funny that's Americans trying to do everything with chemicals, and they use a lot of drugs to simulate all these things. And I had seen Perfect Strangers. It's a different story, but it just come to my mind. All these things they try to manufacture, and but my question is, I think I feel that during that process, if you have any phobia, like if you have anything like any fear, that also bit of a amplitude, like because I had a fear, I have a bit of a heart issues. I will end up having some heart issues from very young age because of tiny pains and stuff like that. And during this process, it's amplified obviously, and then has to do a lot of testing. Like again, I went to testing because I've done the calcium score and all these things. They said, doctor said, heart is perfectly fine. If you die, it's purely not because of heart, because you have to die. And that sort of stuff. And other thing is, I'm finding connections like I am finding like my brain can stimulate my tummy conditions. Like I'm finding that connection little bit by little bit, and my question is how to face the fear. That I feel that rapture and fear has some form of connection, and how can I reduce that?
Yeah. If I take how to face fear, take the word how out, face fear. You have seen the doctors, and even I have seen, certain things happen, we cannot fathom. So the first thing we do is we go and see a doctor. And doctors have told me 3 times there is nothing wrong, right? So then I gave up everything, and then observed whatever that was happening, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. So if we die because of the fear and not because of the condition, right? So therefore, when we are fearful, when we are in fear, you just label it as fear and challenge it. Make me more and more afraid. I will go through that. So
why sorry, why fear? Like for example, like I have these sudden weird feelings like torturing, because obviously I grew up in Sri Lanka, where a lot of young women and men were killed and burned, and those feelings comes into my mind. I can't go really inside. I still I still don't want to touch that area. It's maybe too dark or something. I don't know. It's not me. It's not my fear for my life. Probably I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's a dark area of the mind, and everyone will have something like that, and that is where you have your defilement. So long as you, I mean, if you really face it, there is nothing. There is absolutely nothing. You will have to gradually, now you have identified the issue. That's the most important thing. And don't rush, right? So let it come up, especially when you're in your sitting practice, because then you are ready to face it, right? Let it come up, or even otherwise, if it comes in a place where you can face it, just let it appear. Don't do anything. Don't bring any suggestions. Don't bring any proposals. Don't change your posture. Just ask it to bring anything you have. I will be observing you. Even if I die. Even if anybody comes, anything comes. Right? So when that happens, those things you will see, they have no strength at all. So when I went to Canada a couple of years ago, there was a girl. After the session, she quietly came and told me, every time when I practice, there is something that has happened when she was young, when she was schooling, and that comes into her mind, and that shatters everything. So I told her, if it is happening every time, next time you sit with the intention of that to appear, and expect that. And if it is coming up, you be mindful of it. If you can't be just observing, just start labeling it. And she said on the following day, I sat with that expectation and it never came. So long as we are afraid, in Sri Lanka, if you are scared of the dog will chase you. But you stop and turn back, dog will stop. I have seen in Bhante, when Bhante Rakkhita was chased by a dog, Bhante turned back and chased the dog, and dog ran away. So that's the same thing, the dark areas that we have in our mind, so long as we are afraid of them, they keep scaling. As soon as the attitude towards them changes, they are very, very feeble.
Yeah, I mean, go with being ready, probably. That's the...
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, thank you for that. And I think that's pretty much I have. And yeah, I might have more questions.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Thank you. Anybody else?
Sanjay doesn't have any questions, I'll ask.
Okay.
He says his microphone isn't working.
Well,
He has a question. Oh, no, I have no questions. Okay.
are you going to ask a question? Or?
Yes, I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
So, question, those 5 raptures, when you do Goenka, when you do body scanning, which one is it?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
So there's 5 raptures, 5 categories.
Yeah.
When you do body scanning,
Yeah.
which is it that appears?
It can be anything. It can be anything. It depends on how you feel it. Did you hear me?
Yes. What about vibrations?
Vibration, you will have to explain what vibration it is, how you feel the vibration.
There's no body, the entire body is a massage.
Yeah, so that is the third rapture that you feel.
But which one is that? What's the name?
I don't know. It was Ubbega Priti, is it? Okkantika Priti.
Exalted?
Exalted. I think it is exalted.
It's minor, then momentary.
Minor, momentary, and I tell you. Yeah, it is Okkantika Priti, which is showering rapture.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you. That's my question.
Okay. So if there are if Sanjay has his mic on, then we can conclude the session. To conclude the session, we will chant the traditional stanzas to pass the accumulated merits, wholesome deeds to all the beings in the universe. There are a lot of people who are helping in these endeavors, so we will transfer our positive energies to them.